What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got the Last Stylebender's warning, Randy Couture's prediction, Captain Eric's flyweight title fight wish list, and much more. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. Now let's get into it. Aljamain Sterling responds to Sean O'Malley's take. When the bantamweight title unification bout was moved from UFC 272 to UFC 273 just 1 month, Sugar Sean O'Malley stated that this particular fight isn't interesting enough to be the only title fight on a UFC fight card, and generally questioned why the UFC and ESPN were raising prices for the pay-per-views. Well, current champion Aljamain Sterling is now responding to O'Malley's statements, and while he does agree that perhaps they should be fighting on a card with another title fight, he disagrees with the rest of what O'Malley said. Case in point, this is what he said recently while on the MMA Hour.
So it's got to be a little bit more to the metrics. It can't just be one person. I'm pretty sure if it was just Sean O'Malley and a bunch of other guys that are up and coming, not really any type of notoriety, people aren't paying $75 to watch Sean O'Malley fight either. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about in that regards. If the UFC puts together a great card with top 10 fights and matchups that mean something, people are going to pay.
Sterling is set to rematch Peter Yan at UFC 273 in April as the co-main event alongside the featherweight title fight between Alexander Volkanovski and the Korean Zombie. The fight was moved after the UFC booked a non-title 5-round main event between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington at UFC 272. What do you make of Sterling's comments here? Israel Adesanya warns that he'll finish Robert Whittaker in a more devastating fashion. Israel Adesanya is fired up for his middleweight title fight rematch against Robert Whittaker, set for February 12th. When the two meet in the octagon, it will have been 850 days since they last met on October 6, 2019 at UFC 243. The hype for that fight was incredible, and it certainly did not disappoint. As champion, Whittaker was a world beater. That is, until he met Adesanya that night in Melbourne. The Last Stylebender capitalized on Whittaker's mistakes and was able to score a convincing TKO win in the second round. He's held the title ever since, with 3 successful title defenses and 1 unsuccessful run at the light heavyweight title against Jan Blachowicz last year. That loss is what Whittaker says gave him the blueprint to beat Izzy, but Adesanya is not short on motivation, as he's continually said he wants to be considered the best of all time, and is warning Whittaker that he wants to put his lights out. Case in point, in a recent interview, Adesanya said this: "My prediction is that I'm gonna f Whittaker up again. He can't stand with me, so I know he'll be forced to grapple. Last time he said Kelvin Gastelum has given the blueprint on how to beat Adesanya, and now he's saying Jan has given the blueprint. He needs to write his own blueprint. If he wants to copy someone else's work, then by all means try, because it went so well last time for him when we fought." The last time out, Adesanya was unstoppable, landing seemingly at will, and ultimately walked away with the title in hand. Will the same thing happen again at UFC 271? Let us know in the comments what your predictions are for how this fight will go. Paulo Costa pushes for a rematch against Marvin Vettori. Big puncher Paulo Costa is looking to get back on track in his career after dropping 2 straight fights. He lost the middleweight title fight at UFC 253 via TKO to Israel Adesanya in September of 2020. Then he lost to Marvin Vettori in October via decision. It also didn't help that he missed weight for that last fight, turning it into a catchweight fight. Now, it looks like he wants to run that last fight back. Case in point, in a recent appearance on Portuguese language podcast AG Fight, Costa said this: "I just said to let the UFC president Dana White know I'll fight him now. It's the only fight that interests me. No one else interests me, unless it's for the title, but I'm no fool. I'm not stupid to consider a title fight now. I want to fight him. He's the only viable guy that interests me. If it's not him, I'm not even interested in fighting. I let Dana White know that." Costa goes on to talk about how he thinks Vettori is a goofball, a fool, and simply wants to get his hands on him. He also states that he plans to stay at 185 pounds. Following his fight in October, UFC President Dana White himself said Costa should probably be moving up in weight, given how much trouble he had last time, and just his general size. But what do you think? What do you make of Costa calling out Vettori for a rematch? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the latest fight news. Who will Deiveson Figueiredo defend his UFC Flyweight title against? Captain Eric has an idea. Flyweight champion Deiveson Figueiredo is coming off a big title victory over Brandon Moreno at UFC 270 last month. And while it's unclear who he'll be defending his title against next, his coach, Captain Eric Albarracin, has something in mind. First, Captain Eric 100% believes a fourth fight between these two fighters should take place, given that Moreno and Figueiredo each have one win over the other and that their first fight ended in a majority draw. But Captain Eric did have a backup idea on his wish list, and we're here for it. This is what he told MMA Junkie in an interview this week.
The assassin baby versus the god of war. That's the fight to make. If you can't make that fight, I say Kai Kara-France. Kai Kara-France, Brazil versus New Zealand too. But I told Figueiredo and he was on board. I go on one stipulation. I want Israel Adesanya in that corner. I want to be in that corner for that fight.
A fight between Kai Kara-France and Deiveson Figueiredo would be lights out, given that both of them have quite a few knockouts in their respective careers. They're big power punchers, which is rare for a flyweight. They've also both lost to Brandon Moreno at some point in their career, though Kai did go the distance and lost a decision back in December 2019. Still, Kai has 2 straight wins, both knockouts in the first round, and one against a former bantamweight champion, Cody Garbrandt. What do you think? Do you want to see Kai Kara-France fight Deiveson Figueiredo for the flyweight title? And who do you think wins this fight? Randy Couture believes the UFC and Francis Ngannou are headed towards a court battle. Randy Couture's legal battles with the UFC are well known, and he's previously admitted to spending about $500,000 of his own money in legal fees just fighting the former owners of the organization in Zuffa. He sees a lot of similarities in the ongoing contract dispute between the promotion and the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. The Cameroon native has been in a verbal squabble with the UFC, and he just fought and won his last fight on his current deal, though he's still technically under contract due to the Champions Clause. Ngannou beat Ciryl Gane in the heavyweight title unification fight at UFC 270 in January, and has previously stated that he not only wants more money, but also the ability to fight boxing outside of the promotion, among other things. UFC President Dana White disagrees, and the two sides have yet to reach an agreement here. Well, this is what Couture had to say about where he sees this could potentially go, and said this to Ariel Helwani when he was asked about the situation on the MMA Hour this week.
He tries to walk away and say the contract ended here. They're gonna contest that. They're gonna drag him into court. They're gonna force him to spend a bunch of money on lawyers and stuff that he's not gonna want to do, and he's gonna have to at some point really make a decision, unfortunately, whether he wants to walk back, stop spending money on lawyers and legal issues and go back to doing what he loves to do, which is fight.
Couture talks about how the UFC has enough money to legally tie up Francis in court should it come to that. Francis, meanwhile, is the heavyweight champion, but doesn't look like he'll be able to fight for 6 to 9 months at least, regardless of what happens. That's because he's scheduled to have a surgery to repair his MCL and partially torn ACL. He fought the heavyweight title fight with an injured knee and was able to adjust on the fly to take a unanimous decision win, along with the hearts and minds of fans worldwide. Ngannou has leverage in his talks, although it remains to be seen how this whole contract dispute will play out. Do you agree with the natural that Ngannou and the UFC could head to court? Or do you believe a deal will eventually get done and Ngannou won't go anywhere? And just for fun, what promotion do you think would be a good landing spot for Ngannou? Today's video was packed with some juicy stories from the fight world. What are your thoughts about what's going on in MMA? Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. See you next time.